Welcome to the Phase Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Terrell Humphrey, and over the last half a decade, I produced over 893 podcast episodes. And throughout this journey, I've been learning about business. I've been bringing you along the journey so that way you can see what's possible, what's not possible, what's working, and what's not working. And so in this video, we actually going to talk about the secret of podcasting. And so the reason why this topic came about today is because yesterday I did a podcast workshop. And throughout this workshop, I'm talking about podcasting, I'm teaching, I'm going over the slides, and going over the presentation. And then I recognized something. I was like, wait, I finally understand what I'm doing now. I'm no longer guessing what I'm doing. I understand what I'm doing. And so I was like, ooh, okay, I want to make that a video because to understand what I'm doing takes a long time. Nonetheless, as it's taking a long time, it's really helping me become more educated, build my confidence, and have a business around podcast production. So let's go ahead and get it started. What's going on, Carlos? Let's go ahead and get it started. So first thing first, the secret of podcasting. Point number one is that you have to record yourself. You have to record yourself. When I started a half a decade ago, my voice was cracky. I didn't like the way I sounded. I didn't like the way I showed up. I didn't even like the way I communicated. Nonetheless, the more I recorded myself, the more comfortable I got. The more I recorded myself, the more my confidence built. The more I recorded myself, the more I learned what I was talking about. Not necessarily just what I was talking about, but how I improved over time. When I look at videos from a half a decade ago to today, it's a massive change. Why? Because I started to record myself. I started to hear myself, started to see myself. How was I presenting? How was I showing up? How was I communicating? What am I talking about? Is it valuable? Is it simple? Can people understand it? You see, podcasting has to start with recording. You see, as simple as that sound, what's going on, Kay? Lise, I think I said that right. You see, podcasts start with recording yourself. It's easy to not record yourself because you're doubting what you sound like on camera. Hold on. Let me come up to the camera. You see, you have to record yourself because you have to learn what to speak about. You see, when I started half a decade ago, my tripod wasn't even that tall, but I started with the plan. I started with the goal. And throughout this journey, I've learned. When you learn how to record yourself, you are learning how to take step number one. Step number one might seem simple. Step number one might seem less overwhelming. Step number one might seem less stressful. Nonetheless, when I learned how to record myself, I learned how to show up. Hold on. Kennedy. Oh, what's going on? Appreciate the correction. Appreciate that. What's going on, Kennedy? I learned how to show up. You see, podcasting is more than just a conversation. Podcasting is more than just you pressing the red button on the camera or your phone or anything of that nature. Podcasting literally comes from you understanding the value that you're delivering. Okay, hold on. You're not gonna know everything. Hold on, let me come back to the screen. You're not gonna know everything, and that's okay. Over the last half a decade, I've been growing, been learning about business, doing business, had to readjust my business plan like so many different times. Yet, as I'm adjusting it so many different times, I'm literally learning what I'm doing. I'm literally getting comfortable on camera. I'm literally learning how to build my confidence up. I'm literally learning how to educate around podcasting about the lessons that I've learned while being in business, the amount of failures that I had. You see, the growth only comes from me taking that risk. As I start to take that risk, podcasting became the business that I was doing. I didn't even know it could be a business. I didn't even know it can be a business. Nonetheless, as I learned on the journey, it was like, hey, this is how it can be a business because you're building your brand. When people hear you speak, when you educate others, people literally start to say that you helped me with something. And when I start to see that impact, that shift, people literally start telling me, you're helping me because now I don't feel alone. Hold on. Let me take a sip of water to that one. What's going on, TikTok? Let me know where y'all chiming in from. You see, when you record yourself, As you learn to record yourself, you learn to show up. Okay? You learn to show up. You can't be in business if you're not willing to show up. 893 podcast episodes are a lot of episodes. Now think about the amount of lessons that's built on top of each other. I'll share the stories with you right quick. Hold on. So when I was when I moved back to Little Rock, Arkansas, my mama and I, we went to shout out to Delicious Temptations. I actually got to reach out to the owners and communicate with them. Nonetheless, it's a breakfast restaurant spot. And when we went there, my mama and I was waiting to get served. And as we were waiting, we literally were just sitting there. And I saw somebody who had a briefcase. And I'm like, I wonder what he does. So I go over there and I start speaking with him. I start communicating with him. I'm like, so what do you do? And he got to tell me, I think he said he was in professional wrestling or something like that. And I was like, for real? I was like, how did you get into that? He got to telling me that it's been a journey on how he got to where he was. But then I was like, so it didn't feel like a conversation. My mama heard the entire conversation. And when we got done, we went to our separate tables. He was like this. He said, my mom was like, son, you didn't tell him anything about yourself. I said, what you mean? I said, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I'm thinking the conversation was around him and what he does and why he's doing it. She was like, yeah, that's good. But you didn't even tell him about yourself. He know nothing about you, but you know everything about him. That's not a conversation. That's an interrogation. You're interviewing him and he don't get to know you. He said, she was like, that's not a conversation. Podcasting is learning how to have a conversation. When she told me that, I started to understand. I was like, ooh, okay, that's different. It's different because I was used to asking the questions, gaining information, learning, all these different things. But that feedback helped me understand that as I'm recording myself, I have to present myself. And as I started to present myself, I started to build that connection even more. It's not just about the conversation. It's not just about recording. It's not just about documenting the process. It's literally about making that guest or the person that you're speaking with comfortable. As they feel comfortable, they start to understand that they are not alone. But before they feel comfortable, they feel like they are alone. After producing 893 podcast episodes, the secret of podcasting is not just a secret, it's secrets. It's multiple different secrets that goes into one secret because you have to grow into that. I had to grow into the secrets because the secrets was the lesson that I needed to learn. You can't learn the lesson if you're not pressing record. The secret of podcasting's first point number one is that you have to press record. It doesn't matter what you sound like. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how many times you mess up on the words that you like to say. What matters is that you keep recording. You keep showing up and you keep documenting the process. I remember going to my first speaking engagement. And this is when I was about to like come out to the world, not necessarily come out to the world, but like start speaking publicly. And I went to this open mic. I don't even know where I heard the open mic from, but I went to this open mic with like a desire to get on stage and to talk about something. I wanted to talk about something. I didn't know what that something was, but I wanted to talk about something, right? So when I got on stage and start to speak about the thing that I want to talk about, the thing that I want to speak about didn't even come out smooth. I literally stuttered over my words like for the first 60 seconds. And I was trying to tell a joke, but the joke didn't come out. And I tell you this, it wasn't a joke that I was trying to tell. It was the messaging that I was trying to deliver. But I had to be embarrassed in front of people, in front of an audience. It was literally an audience just looking at me. When I say just looking at me, I'm saying just looking at me. Okay? What's going on, everybody on TikTok? Can't see who's all joining. But when I say they was looking at me, they was looking at me. And it made me super uncomfortable because I'm literally failing in public. I got the microphone, I'm holding the microphone, and I was like, I couldn't even get the words out. You see, what happens is that as I was trying to get the words out, the words wasn't even coming out. And so I stopped. I was like, wait, hold on. Can I start over? They was like, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, start over. I was like, all right, cool. I appreciate it. They let me start over. I failed publicly. But then when they let me do it again, I was able to communicate effectively. You see, many times in life, you got to be okay with failure because you have to learn from that failure. As I learned from that failure, right then and there, I literally was able to present better. But it wasn't the fact that I was in front of people. It was more so I was just in my head a lot. Recording yourself gives you practice. Okay, we on live stream. Hey, Next Gen. Hey, bro, I appreciate you for joining in, bro. You understand that you have to learn what you're doing. I had to learn what I was doing. And as I started to learn what I was doing, I got a lot better. But it all started from recording my first video. It all started from me recording when my tripod wasn't even that tall and I had to put books underneath it. It started when I was learning how to record myself. It started when I was learning how to present myself. I didn't know people was watching, yet I learned this the other day. You never know who's watching you, so always do your best. And I always find out to do my best because I've heard that multiple different times. But the way it was explained when I last heard it, the question I asked around there, I was like, it seems like you had this opportunity or this opportunity happened to you. And he was like, it actually did. It actually happened to me. Let me tell you this. He told me that story and it gave me like a sense of, hey man, I'm doing something right. Because you never know who's watching. And just because you don't know who's watching doesn't mean you shouldn't perform. When you don't perform, people can't learn about you. You see, the first point of recording yourself is learning how to practice. Practice. Like we're talking about practice. Allen Iverson did a famous interview and it was like, bro, we're talking about practice? Yes, you got to talk about practice. You got to practice your craft. You got to practice your skill. You have to practice every single day, even when there's no one in the audience. Now, I tell you this, when I was playing football and during the off season, nobody was in the audience. Like it literally, hold on. If you ever go to a sporting event or practice, whatever the case is, you have players right here. These are players. And you got, I don't know how to build a stands right there. Let's put stadium. And this is empty. So when you practicing, no one is watching you mess up. When you practicing, no one is there to judge you. When you're practicing, no one is actually there to say, hey man, you messed up. But what happens is that when you practice, when there's no audience, when the audience come and watch you perform, they now see you at your craft. They now see you perform. They now see you podcast. You see, the reason why football and podcasting go hand in hand, because if you don't practice your craft won't be the focus. And that's when I understood. I was like, hold on. There's something into podcasting. You might record yourself today and you might learn what you're doing today, but that doesn't mean you understand what you're doing. It took me a long time to understand that this can actually be a business. But then I start asking the question like, how can it be a business? What is a business? Why do you need to learn how to create content or how to market yourself? In other words, business terms. How do you learn how to do that? You learn how to do that by pressing record. The first thing that you have to do is get comfortable on camera. Once you get comfortable on camera, the sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. I heard this advice and it was the best piece of advice that I've ever received. They say record everything. And I say everything, I mean everything. I was able to produce a documentary. It's called Starting with the Dream documentary. And in this documentary, I literally documented the process of what I was trying to do when I started the 90-day challenge to grow a podcast business. It wasn't a podcast production business then. Nonetheless, when I started that, I had no idea what I was doing. but I wanted to learn on the go. Just like when I pressed record and started to learn what I was doing, I was learning on the go. I was learning as I grew. And then in 2023, I wrote a book called Master Your Mind, 10 tips to shift your mindset. But they all came from me learning how to press record. I have to be committed to the process before the process reap rewards. There's no rewards in learning your craft and learning your skill and learning how to practice. But there are rewards if you learn how to be consistent from the craft that you are working on. Dog culture, what's going on, bro? So that's the next point I want to hit on. Hold on. That's the next point I want to hit on. First point that we just talked about is that you have to record yourself. Next point, appreciate you for coming in. Commitment and consistency. Hey, I like that. Somebody say his name is Thriving. Hey, I appreciate that, man. All right, so point number one is that you have to record yourself. Point number two, you have to be committed. You have to be committed. I saw this post. Let me say this. I want to take a moment of silence for all the service members that's going to different parts of the world to protect us, and I want to go ahead and do the moment of silence right now. Thank you. So by me being prior service member, I always want to do that and just be mindful of everyone that's there that's protecting our freedom and everything that they're doing. So I wanted to get a moment of silence for that as well. So when I was in the Marine Corps, or actually I saw this video this morning, and it's the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. And what a Sergeant Major is the E9, like he's the highest ranking in the service member, in the Marine Corps. And as I was watching the video, he say to be a Marine, you have to be committed. I think he said committed. Dang, I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was on the lines of like being committed. Like you got to be different to be a Marine. And when you understand everything that you're doing with your dreams, with your goals, your aspirations, with your podcast, you got to be different. You have to be different because you have to learn how to commit to the process. When there's no rewards for anything that you're doing, you have to be okay with the process. I learned how to be committed to the process because the process was teaching me more than just reading a book. The book was there. The information is there. The education is phenomenal. Nonetheless, if I'm not applying the process, if I'm not applying the information, nothing's going to come from there. What this did for me is that, yes, I learned how to record. I learned how to be comfortable on camera, how to be comfortable with my voice, how to be comfortable with showing up. Now what comes next is that I had to learn how to be committed. What am I being committed for? I'm being committed to the journey. If I have a podcast production business where we help real estate developers build their brand through podcasting, I have to enjoy the process, because if I don't enjoy the process, I'm not committed. As I learned how to be committed, I learned more about business. Hold on. Darwin say commitment and consistency. As I learned about business, I became committed. Let me tell you why. Let me bring it to the screen right quick. Business is confusing, right? It might seem like it's simple, but it's not. You got all these different factors that you got to consider. You got sales, you got marketing, you got finance, you got team development / personal development. And then you got operations, how you do your business. And then you got sales, marketing, finance, team development, personal development, operations. I'm missing something. But anywho, you got all these different layers of business. Hold on, right there. You got all of these layers of business. Let me know to come in if I missed something. Just like on a broad way, not a broad way, but like the overall thing that goes into business. You have all these different layers that goes into business, right? When I start to learn about, let's say, sales, I'm still learning about sales. In fact, shout out to Bill. He gave me this book right here, Sales Tough. Sales Tough. I haven't even read it yet, but I think it's a little quick read. Nonetheless, I am going to read it. Why? Because there's so many different things that I do not know. But if I take the time to learn something and then apply it, like I have to learn it, then apply it, that's what makes sense. When I start to apply the information, I start to see things differently. Do I ever say customer service? Oh, yeah. That's major. Customer service, client relations, customer retention, legacy customers. Hey, man. Yeah. That's how could I forget the customers? What the mess? Bro, that's crazy. That is crazy. I agree. Thriving, what's your name, bro? Share your name, man, if you mind. But you got so many layers that I forgot the layers that you gotta worry about. But if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. Kenny, bro, pleasure to meet you, man. I'm Terrell. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business. And I literally was talking to one of my buddies, and he explained this terminology. What is it? Operations efficiency. I think it's called operation efficiency. And the way he explained it, I was like, There's a movie called Founders with excuse me, about McDonald's. And it's a movie about it and how they got to like learning what the system is, how to do the system, and how to put it together. When he shared the operation efficiency and the example that he used, I was like, man, that's crazy. Now I see that why that's important. Lots of folks forget about the reason we in business, and it's the people we serve. I definitely agree. It's when they got to like practicing what they're gonna do, they literally have to readjust the business so many different times. As they adjusted, they was focused on the operations. What do they need to do in order for them to have a smooth process? And they practice, and they change, and they adjusted. But what happened is that they got to a point where they're no longer bumping into each other. They are able to turn around without hitting each other, and they're able to go to station to station. Why is that important? When he explained that, I thought about it. Then I also thought about the podcast production business that I'm working on. And I'm like, how can I apply the operations to be simple, not overcomplicated, but what do I need to have in place in order for me to have a business? Well, first thing first, when you are committed, you have to start to see what's working. Hold on. Let me come back to the screen because that was pretty good. When you are committed, you have to see what's working, what's not working, what can be improved, what's good, what's not good, why. I started to ask the question, why is this working? Hold on. Why is this working? The secret of podcasting is always asking questions. There's a terminology. There's a sales terminology that be like ABC. Always be closing. And then I talked to somebody. He's like a mentor in the program that I'm in a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Remember this ABC." He say, "Always be curious." I say curious. I said, hold on. What happened to closing? Always be closing. I've heard of closing. He said that is a terminology for sales. But I tell you this, always be curious. Simplicity is the basis of efficiency. Hey man, Kitty. Hey bro, you own us some. He say, always be curious. And I asked him, I said, why you say that? I said, because I've heard always be closing, but I never heard always be curious. He said, let me tell you something. He said, when you're doing business, you have to always be curious because you always want to know what's working, why is it working, how to make it better, how to make it more efficient. You always want to know why. Let me tell you something. I thought I was curious, but I became even more curious after that. And then yesterday, I'm in this program, and it's called the Incubator Program at UT with the Low Entrepreneurship Center. And as I'm in this program, we went to the Lightning Stadium or the Boat Stadium. I don't know. I think it's the Boats Lightning Stadium. The hockey team. And we went there for a panel. And it was two people who were prior hockey players, pro hockey players, and was another person who was the voice. He said he's the play-to-play person for the hockey. I'm like, what is that? You know what? He said, you know how you watching the game and the person is on the, like you hear the person talking about the plays and what they're doing? I said, yeah. He said, I do that. I said, how you do that? Like how you start doing that? What the mess? I've never heard of that terminology. And it didn't make sense that I've always heard it, but I didn't know it was called that. Okay. There was a CEO there, and as we was talking, there was a CEO there, and he said this. He said something. He said, he said something about have intellectual curious. Oh, yeah, be intellectually curious. I'm like, intellectually curious. I wrote it down. I said, ooh, that's different. Be intellectually curious. I'm like, what the mess? Where y'all be getting these sayings from? Because they are spot on. So I asked his team. The panel got done. They got done talking and communicating. And I saw the people who had the same shirts on and things of that nature. I go to them. I asked. I said, somebody said. I said, hold on. I'm looking for it. Be intellectually curious. Because he was talking and he said that. I said, hold on. He didn't say intellectually curious, but he said something on the lines that made me think of it. I'm looking at it. I said, somebody said this. Somebody said be intellectually curious. I said, who said that? He said that was the CEO. And I'm like, oh, that's different. That's different. And see, that was different because, yes, growing up, I've always asked a lot of questions, but I never understood why I asked a lot of questions. I just knew I was curious. I didn't know there was like a thing that people was not doing until I got older. As I got older, people do not ask questions. And I'm like, if I want to know something, I don't know everything. I'm just going to ask. So I start asking a lot. And I get more information. Even when I go to different restaurants, different places, I see something and I ask questions. Why? Because I'm always curious. You see, when you're committed, you gotta be always curious. You're not gonna know everything until you're always curious. You see, when you're committed to podcasting, you're always curious. When I became curious, even more, I start to learn the details, the information that wasn't spoken about. Oh, hold on. You see, why is it working? You have to narrow down the reason behind it. The secret of podcasting, there are many secrets, not just one secret. There are many secrets to understand what you're doing, but one of the main secrets is to be curious. You have to always be curious instead of always be closing, because when you're always curious, you will be able to close even more. Hold on. Now understand how they correlate with each other, how they tie in with it. It's not the fact that you don't know what you're doing. It's more so you're not asking enough questions to understand how to do it. Oh, when I learned this, and I start applying it, and I start to see the difference between this. And it was like, go through your business as a customer. In other words, like literally, like it was when to implement this, it was challenging because I didn't know how to do it. But then, hold on, let me just make sure. Oh, Mike, okay, you can hear me. I've learned that podcast is all about the questions you ask. Hey, man, if you don't ask questions, you can't get the information out from people, even had a conversation. Kenny, you own to something, bro. When somebody say, go through the customer's journey as a customer to see the problems that you have. I'm like, why you need to do that? Darsh, what's going on, bro? I'm like, why you need to do that? Remember, why is it working? I start to ask why I needed to do that. And then start to explain, well, when you do this, when you go through the journey as the customer, when you go through the customer's journey as the customer, you start to see things that's not out in the open. Give you a prime example. When I was setting up emails, text messages, reminders, calendar reminders, all these different things, so much set up. Oh, man. I set it up, got done, and I was like, okay, I need to go through it. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me send the link to myself. Sent the link to myself. I copy, pasted it, opened up my calendar link. I went to a random day, clicked it, filled out the information. I'm like, oh, okay, right there. What is that? It was a lot of questions. I got overwhelmed with the questions that I was answering. I said, okay, hold on. Let me narrow this down. So instead of, hold on, too cold. Give me a second, bro. I do it. We can go live right after this. Go through your business as a customer. So when you go through your business as a customer, you have to really see the things that's not out and about. Hold on, that's not really spoken about. So let's say when I got started to business, I actually used to do this. I had 20. Oh, that was a lot of questions. I had 20 questions for someone to answer. And for someone to answer, I'm literally saying, like, whenever they come into what I was doing, I literally had so many different questions. And then when I start to go through the journey, I'm like, that's a lot of questions. Now I got to think about every response. Now I got to answer a lot of response. I'm like, okay. Let me try to narrow that down. So instead of 20 questions, I put it to like 15 questions. And then I went through the journey again, and it still was overwhelming. I'm like, ooh, that's still a lot. So then I narrowed down to, like, let's say 7 questions. 7 questions wasn't a lot, but 7 questions is enough questions to gain the information. I'm not looking to set somebody on a calendar link. I'm looking to gain a better understanding of where you are at. When I started to test that out, I went through the journey. It was like, all right, cool. I'm not overwhelmed. I can go through it. All right, cool. I sent it to other people. And the other people completed the application. Well, not the application, but completed the questions that I was asking. And I was like, I think I found my sweet spot. When you are committed, hold on, let me come back to the screen. When you are committed, you have to be, hold on, that's not what I wanted to say. Hold on. Okay, when you are committed, you start to see the problems is not necessarily spoken about. When you are committed, you go through your journey as a customer and start to see the problems that your customers will experience. Hold on. You're not going to know the problems that exist until you think like a customer, act like a customer, instead of just acting like a business owner. It was challenging for me to really think like a customer, because having a podcast production company, a lot of people don't share their stories often. Like, a lot of people are not comfortable on camera. And because I became comfortable on camera, my job is to help other people feel comfortable. Not overwhelmed, not boggled down with so many different random parts of the conversation. No. Not being it. Bro, oh my God, this drives me crazy. Even when I listen to podcasts, because I still listen to podcasts, even though I have a podcast production business. As I'm listening to podcasts, the one thing that drives me crazy is when the host interrupts the guest. Like, bro, let this person talk. You're so excited to interview this person, you're missing the conversation. I'm so proud that whenever I have a conversation with anybody, I don't care if I ask one question and they talk for 10 minutes, which has happened before. I asked one question and I got a long-winded response. That response helped them gain the information that they wanted to share. And I was just there listening. I didn't interrupt. I didn't ask an additional question. I literally stopped talking. I even made a post about it. I was like, I just got done with the podcast. And in this podcast, I only asked, let's say, 3 to 5 questions. I didn't even talk that much. But the biggest thing that I've learned was to let the person talk. was to let the person talk. You can't get the information. You can't have the conversation if you always trying to interrupt. So when you are committed, check this out. When you are committed, check this out. Hold on. When you are committed, you are patient. When you are committed, you are constantly practicing. When you are committed, you are learning what's working, what's not working. Then you ask the question, why is it working? Hold on. When you start to do that, you start to see your business different. See, the secret of podcasting are secrets. There are many secrets to podcasting. And when I start to like put them together, I was like, oh, this is different. Because I'm learning how to think like a customer and I'm committed to the process. So first couple of points that we just talked about was point number 1, you have to record yourself. You have to be comfortable on camera. I'm on Instagram Live, TikTok Live. Shout out to the people on TikTok. Shout out to the people on Instagram. Hello, X, Facebook, Twitch. I'm on all of these different platforms because I'm trusting the process. You see, hold on. You have to record yourself, but before you record yourself, you have to know that it's going to be a journey. That's the last point we're going to hit on right there. That's the last point that we're going to hit on. Enjoy your journey. I spelled enjoy wrong. Hold on. Enjoy your journey. I tell you this, one thing. Oh, you can't even see that. Hold on. All right, there we go. Cool. One thing that I really learned was that the journey is the reward. And it's the reward because of the lessons you learn. Lessons. Because of the growth. Because of the understanding. Because of the education. Because of the business. I learned this word the other day. I like how it sounds. Business acumen. Basically, your understanding of business. I don't know how to spell it. I just know it sounds good. And your failures. When I did, somebody on TikTok, Threads and Substack are good too for deep conversation in business. Oh, I appreciate that, Kenny. Quite honestly, I know I needed to do it, but I just had to figure out what I was doing. And I'm about to start back doing that now. So you're going to see a lot more, Kenny. Nonetheless, I thought just because I wasn't able to hit my goal of making $100,000 in 90 days, have a podcast business at times, podcast business within the next 90 days, it was like really humbling because I was able to learn so much information. Somebody on TikTok that was like, somebody on TikTok, they said, because hold on, I made a video. I was like, I made $217, but I invested back into the business, and now it's around $10 and some change. And over 90 days, that's the only amount of money that I made from the business. And with that, somebody on TikTok that was like, bro, you could have worked at McDonald's and got paid a lot more. And I'm like, could I? So I went to Google. Went to the calculator to see how much they get paid. I think they said they got paid $15. And I was like, all right, cool. 15 times 40 for 1 week. Hold on. 15 times 40. Hold on. 15 times 40. $600 times 2. $1,200. So you get paid twice. Times 3 because the 90 days. So you get paid maybe 6. And so times 3 months. $3,600. $3,600 I could have made working at McDonald's. And I told him, I said, man, you absolutely right. I could have made more working at McDonald's. But the lessons that I've learned trying to build a business from zero to something is irreplaceable. Like it's mind-blowing. Because now I have to learn how to do the payment. I have to learn how to find the customers. I have to learn how to sell. I have to learn how to follow up. I have to learn how to put systems in place. I have to learn how to put steps in place. You see, some things can be learned, but when you are committed to the process, you're learning everything that the business will teach you. The journey is the reward because the journey creates the lessons. Hold on. The journey creates the lessons. And I'll tell you this, that journey created the lessons for me. And so I'm on my 7th attempt of trying to go podcast production business. Nonetheless, from attempt number 1, attempt number 2, attempt number 3, attempt number 4, attempt number 5, attempt number 6, I've learned so much because I'm applying what I'm learning instead of not waiting for the opportunity. No, I'm creating the opportunity. What this did for me is that it helped me learn what I was doing. The payment, something about the credit card. I want to talk about something about credit card. With the credit card, check this out. One of my first customers, as soon as I posted the challenge, I was like, I'm doing this challenge to try to grow business. I was trying to figure out what I'm doing. And somebody was like, yeah, like I want to do it. Like I want to participate in it. I was like, for real? That was like, yeah. I was like, really? That was like, yeah. I was like, cool. So we got on a call and she was explaining like what she wanted to do, what her goal was, what the podcast is going to be about. I sent her the link. I sent her like the link to submit the payment. She tried to submit the payment. Didn't go through. Attempt number 1. She tried to submit it again. I said attempt number 2. She tried to submit it for a 3rd time. Did not go through. She tried to submit it for a 4th time. Did not go through. I said, hold on. Let me go check and make sure that you're not getting charged for this. Because I don't even know how to fix this. I don't even know why it's not working. I have no idea. Let me go confirm that you're not getting charged for this. I literally went to the my website. I'm using ClickFunnels, and I go in there and see where she submitted the payment at. It literally showed me 5 times. Like she literally tried to submit the payment 5 different times, and I'm like, it says the payment didn't go through. So I sent the screenshot over to her. I said, hey, listen, I don't know how to fix this right now. I don't know. I literally don't. I can try to fix it, but I just need some time to figure out how to do it. So I sent it to her. She was like, oh, no problem. Like, I completely understand. Thank you for sharing that with me and being honest. And she still shared the money, but she sent the money as a donation instead of becoming a customer. It was great, but she sent it through Zelle. Zelle didn't have no problems. So now I'm like, all right, cool. I appreciate you for supporting. Again, I apologize for like the misunderstanding. I don't know how to fix this right now. I just give me time to fix it. So I got doubtful on that because I'm like, man, I thought I put everything together. I thought I had everything together, but there was a failure that I was not expecting. The customer journey that I didn't go through would have led me to learn how to set the payment up. But now that happened, I'm more focused on the customer journey now. And so that was like it was so overwhelming. I'm like, bro, how do you fix this? Then when I go to customer service, they of course, customer service, they talking with me, but it just take time. I'm like, I don't even know. But they helped me. It was like maybe a day after. And I'm like, man. So I got doubtful. I got in my head, but the thing that was working was that I was announcing the business of podcasting. I was getting more comfortable to learn the business I was trying to grow. I'm transparent, I'm honest, but I want to bring you on the journey. That right there gave me the confidence to keep going. Even though I only spent $217, but I only made $217, but I invested back to the business. That $217, I had to work for that. Like, I literally had to work for that. And it was so hard to work for that, bro. Oh, man. It was so hard. And I had worked with one client, and I helped him with his podcast, and it was just like, man, it was a lot. It was a lot. Nonetheless, that journey that I went on was a journey that I was not expecting. And then it's like, okay, so what is the business? What am I even doing? I don't even know, to be honest. I didn't know at the time. So every challenge, the first one I completed the entire 9 days. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, I did not complete because it's still like, dang, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. It wasn't the fact that I didn't figure out what I was doing. I just had to understand I was doing the right thing. That journey can't be replaced, but it can be a lesson that will help me actually grow a podcast production business. So the secret of podcasting is that you have to go through the journey. You have to go through the failures. You have to go through the embarrassment. You have to go through moments that's challenging. You have to go through all these different things because you are the one that's growing. You are the one that's learning. You are the one that's becoming different. And as you become different, you learn different. And when you learn different, you understand different. So just to recap everything that we talked about today, this was one of the greatest episodes that I've ever done before because, ooh-wee! So the secret of podcasting is point number one, you have to record yourself. You have to learn how to be comfortable on camera. As you are learning to be comfortable on camera, just be consistent with the process. The next point that we talked about is that you have to be committed. Commitment to a relationship is what makes a relationship work. Commitment to a business is what makes a business work. Commitment to your podcast is what makes your podcast work. Commitment is what makes a difference. Last thing that we talked about is that you have to enjoy your journey. The journey is the lesson. Somebody say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. Now understand that. Because once you get to the destination, you forgot about the journey. That's why I'm documenting the journey. So that way I can bring you along the journey and let you know what's working, what's not working, what to look out for, and what's working for me, and what you can start implementing for yourself as well. So if you are a business owner, a leader, entrepreneur, or someone that's looking just in the process of growing something, of building something, just know that you are not alone. And this channel, this podcast, this live stream will help you understand why you're not alone. So if you're not a part of this community, make sure you hit that follow button, hit that subscribe, because one thing that I talk about is how to turn the setbacks into success. Business is not easy, but that doesn't mean you cannot turn your setbacks into success. So this has been great. Last thing I want to leave you out with is this. Don't be afraid to fail, because failure is knowledge, and you never know the lessons that you're going to learn. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one. That was actually pretty good.